What's up, guys? Welcome back to OverTakes. This is Misfit, and today I'm doing my Week 9 Overwatch League preview. We're going to talk about matches, players, teams, all the good stuff. We're going to do a combo episode with East and West today. We got a little bit of news to talk about before that. So before we dive into all the Week 9 action, I'd like to thank everybody for joining me. All of you guys have been supporting me for 1 day or 5 years. Thank you very much. And if you're new, thanks for stopping by. I do Overwatch League content 2 to 3 times a week, depending on what's going on. And once again, thanks. Thanks for coming in. So let's dive into it. Okay, we got a little bit of news. I mean, obviously we have Overwatch 2 news. I'm not in the beta right now, so I don't really know how Junker Queen's playing or anything like that. I've seen some guys doing stream stuff, and she looks like a ton of fun, and I can't wait to get in there. I didn't buy the pack with the skins and all that stuff and the battle pass, well, because I'm just briefly before we dive into Overwatch League news, my content's been a little off kilter and weird and not on a normal format. Been having some technical issues, so my PC's kind of crapping out here and there, and it's fairly old, so I had to order another one, so I'm waiting on that. And I know I can just, all the stuff transfers and all that anyway, but even if I got into the beta, I don't know how good of a performance my PC would be doing for me in there, if you know where I'm going. You know, FPS and all that stuff, and it's kind of laggy, and it crashes a bunch of stuff, so I'm waiting for my PC to be built, so that's why things have been a little bit weird. I missed an episode because of that and some other things, and crashing programs and whatnot. Super annoying, but that'll be resolved very shortly, hopefully within the next couple of weeks, probably somewhere. Not that it matters, but hopefully I think it's going to get here somewhere around the break, after mid-season madness. So that'll be good. I can get it set up, get everything installed and whatnot, and get the content flowing. And I can make some better videos and stuff like that. There's just a lot of things. Anyway, that aside, Junker Queen looks fun. Queue times are high, etc. But I'm in the beta. Whenever I get my drop, I do. I just hope I don't get the one that's like 3 days before that. It'd suck. But whatever. I'll be okay. I'll survive. There'll be plenty of Overwatch to play. Quite certain I'll be playing a lot of it once October 4th hits here. Plus, I think there's going to be a second beta. Or a third beta, I should say. It seems like that's how they're rolling out the heroes. It's kind of like their PTR thing and a little bit of content otherwise, you know. And they need to give the support some love in one of these contents other than Zenyatta kick and then whatever else they're doing. Because support, no one's playing support. Why would you want to? Going into a beta and the two new heroes are a tank and a DPS. So yeah, there's that. But anyway, enough Overwatch talk and my technological problems talk. My technology issues, if you will. Let's get into some news from the Overwatch League. In the last couple days since my recap of Week 8 went up, the Boston Uprising have released Huck, which I was very surprised at. He's been there since day one, and he's a guy that's polarizing. You know, he's been there for the long haul with Boston, making their player decisions, and, you know, there have been situations where Boston's been terrible, let's be honest, and they stuck with him through that. There was 2019 and 20, they were terrible, absolutely garbage. They're worse than Vancouver is now, possibly. But they stuck with him, and he rubs people the wrong way. And I'm not saying he's a bad guy. I'm saying he rubs people the wrong way. I don't know him, and I think some of that gets taken out of context in social media and in forum posts and Reddit and all that. Like I said, I don't know the guy. He's made some good moves, he's made some bad moves. I think he has a decent enough eye to find talent, but I think there are other issues behind the scenes going on, and he could be difficult to work with. I think he's a guy that wants to win, and sometimes some people get a little too aggressive with that, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Anyway, I think he rubbed people the wrong way, and I think it feels like that they were done with Huck. And who knows what their relationship is, but apparently Mineral is going to step into his role for the temporary time being, whatever you want to call it. He seems to be doing okay in these roles with Boston. He was a coach with the Mayhem year one and most of year two, kind of, and then that whole debacle that was going on there. I don't know what's happening internally in this team. It always seems like there's something weird going on there. I don't know what it is, but Boston has this vibe of, not that something's not right, but there's always something odd going on behind the scenes, it feels like. Okay, lawnmower is stopped. That's fantastic. So there's that. We'll see what happens here. And also in the midst of all this, Boston did sign Seeker, underage contender player. He's not eligible until August 7th, which is, I think, in the last tournament cycle. Somewhere in the beginning of that, he's going to be eligible. And we'll see what happens with that. Their DPS line is okay, so they probably need a little boost there. They're nothing to write home about right now anyway, Boston. They're going to miss this tournament without a miracle, a massive miracle. We talked a little bit about the standings and stuff like that. Also, this bit of news too, I believe Vigilante is eligible for Washington. So we're going to have to keep an eye out for that. I just wanted to throw that in here because he's been a guy that people have been talking about, including myself a little bit at the beginning of the season. When he becomes eligible, we'll see what happens with Washington, with Krillin and all that. But we're in a double flex meta kind of here going on. We'll see if that translates with Vigilante and if they look any better than they do. Or any less justice than they do. How about that? But he's going to get worked into the team, and he'll be part of the chaos and disorder that's there. That is the Washington Justice. But that was just a little bit of news I wanted to talk about. Now let's start talking about Week 9. Let's get into that. First, let's run down the schedule real quick. I'm going to talk some teams that I have my eye on that I'm watching this weekend. The teams that I'm going to pay a little bit more attention to than the others with what's at stake coming up, where they're at, and teams I'm interested in seeing where they're going and what they're doing. Bad, good, otherwise. Generally not on the bad side, if I can help myself to not watch bad matches. I had enough of that last week, and the schedule isn't exactly the grandest in the West. Let's run down that really quick, and then we'll get into some of the other stuff, start diving into Week 9. Okay, let's do the East schedule first. Starting on Friday, we have the first match from the East, 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, the Philadelphia Fusion taking on the Hangzhou Spark, followed by the Chengdu Hunters taking on the Guangzhou Charge. On to Saturday in the East, we have Guangzhou taking on Seoul, 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, followed by Chengdu taking on the LA Valiant, then followed by the Fusion taking on the Dragons. East region wraps up on Sunday with the Seoul Dynasty and the Hangzhou Spark at 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, followed by the Dragons and the Valiant. Now to the West, Friday, starting at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the Paris Eternal take on the London Spitfire, followed by the Reign taking on the Houston Outlaws. Last match on Friday will be the Toronto Defiant taking on the LA Gladiators. Saturday in the West, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Vancouver Titans take on the San Francisco Shock, followed by the Washington Justice taking on the LA Gladiators, and wrapping up with the Paris Eternal versus the Toronto Defiant. Final day of Week 9 action from the West region. We have London versus Washington to start the day off at 3 p.m., followed by the New York Excelsior and the Dallas Fuel. And wrapping up the action on Sunday and for the week, we have the Florida Mayhem taking on the Boston Uprising. Okay, so there's a schedule. What teams am I going to be focusing on this weekend? And not necessarily specific matches, but that's involved in it too. I really want to watch Chengdu this weekend. Not because I'm a lover of pure chaos. I want to see if Chengdu is Chengduing it, like they're normal in the Chengdu zone kind of stuff, or if they're going to morph into a little bit more of the meta situation, getting some more standard meta picks instead of doing weird stuff with Jinmu and, well, never mind, it's going to happen. But I still am interested because I think this meta is a little more tailored to their style than in Stage 1, or Kickoff Clash, I should say. So we're going to watch Chengdu. I want to get a feel for how their DPS line is doing as far as other heroes. I mean, Leave is fine. Jinmu, if he's going to play other heroes, or if he's just going to stick to that triumvirate of heroes where he plays Pharah, Genji, and a little Sombra and dabbling a little here and there with other heroes, or if he's going to jump into something else. Also, I like the situation where Gaga can play some of the stuff that he's good at. It's one of these metas that is made for a guy like him that can play ball, but also can flex off of ball onto other things if ball isn't viable. But also, I'm going to watch the supports too on Chengdu. Monk has been looking fantastic, and I think they are a little bit better than they were in the first stage. They would have been infinitely better, obviously, if they didn't do all the cuts and all that stuff. But here we are. They still have a shot to get in. They need some help along the way, but they still have a shot. So I'm watching the Hunters in the East. I really want to see if Shanghai can come back and reel things in and see if they figured out a little bit more of 5v5, because that's something it's not that the guys on the team are bad. They have not lost skill. I don't think teams have leveled up past them. Maybe come up a little bit closer to them skill-wise, but they just seem not as good without the double tank. And they need to morph their playstyle faster into the 5v5 world. Honestly, it's going to be that. It's going to be these guys were good in Overwatch 1. They just didn't make the transition. They have a couple of matches this week. They have the Fusion. They have the Valiant. Two teams in the same realm. Somewhat below the Shanghai Dragons, if you really want to think about it. But we're going to see what happens. If Fusion and Valiant come out and beat the Dragons, I don't know where the Dragons are at. I really don't. Fusion, I have more faith in the Fusion being able to beat the Dragons than I would the Valiant. The way they're playing right now, the Valiant could be the team that beats the Dragons, and Fusion gets 3-0'd by them. So we don't know. The Dragons are fascinating this year, but just by their slow roll into Overwatch 2, it's not going well. Let's put it that way. It's not going terrible, but this keeps up, you're just going to... The snowball of the L column is going to get larger and larger. And at some point, you're going to have to take drastic measures. So those are two teams from the East that I'm checking out. Keeping an eye on seeing what they're doing. West, we're going to talk about this match as one of the key matches. Atlanta and Houston. I want to see if Houston can rebound. Outlaws, they're just the Outlaws. I want to see them not be the Outlaws. For once in the fucking history of Overwatch League, can the Outlaws not be the Outlaws? Can they just take all that fucking talent, go in there and go and kill somebody? Just bury somebody, do your thing, win a tournament, win a playoff game, get into a tournament. All of these things they need to do. Because you can't tell me viably in a double support meta with Lastro and Iris, and then you have Dante playing a decent Doomfist, Piggy can play Sigma at a high level, and then you have Pelican and Merritt, who's got like the highest stats on Sojourn right now. How are you not winning all of the games? Granted, I understand other teams are a little bit better, but for once, don't be the Outlaws. 1 week in the history of Overwatch League. Actually, one tournament cycle. Let's do that. Let's expand it. Let's give them a challenge. That being said, they should be locked pretty good into the mid-season madness. But I want to see them do something in a tournament. They seem to bow out just quickly. But yeah, I'm really interested in this Outlaws Atlanta match. Also, other team I'm paying attention to, I'm becoming a fan of London. I really am. I'm not going to lie. I like where they're going. I like this team's spirit. They seem like they have a cohesion as a team. They play really well together. They have upped their game. Christopher's got them playing at a massively high level. It's fantastic to see. They're not just a rush team, and I want to see improve more of that against the Justice and the Eternal this week. I hesitated. I was going to say the Justice, but I hesitated because I talk, and everybody has talked infinitely about the Justice. I'm done talking about the Justice until the Justice show up multiple weeks in a row. Because every week, it's like this week, they got I'm talking about them right now. See, here we go. They live rent-free in everybody's brain that talks about Overwatch League. This fucking team. Oh, my God. Anyway, back to London, the team I was actually talking about. Yeah, I think that they're in a good spot right now. Yeah, Poco and Hottie playing really good, which means you can run a majority of comps that you need to run right now. Sparker and Shax look fantastic. I think a little bit that people are overlooking on London I think their support line is better than advertised. To me, it feels that way. Admiral and Landon are just playing decently. And Backbone as well. I forgot about him on the DPS. He looks great too. I mean, are they going to go and take over the Overwatch League? Probably not. But, I think they're going to give some teams some fits if they get into that tournament. And, Atlanta and other teams can say they're cheesing strat. Last I checked, Rush isn't a cheese strat. But anyway, I like how people make like that strat. I understand it's not the meta. But for God's sake, it's not like they're going out there and running Roadhog, Torbjorn, and Bastion. Moira. Oh, wait, no, that's San Francisco that likes Moira. Sorry. But fucking, just a side rant, since I'm fired up now. What the fuck, Krusty? Why are you so enthralled with Moira? Why? You have fucking Finn and Violet. Put them on shit that they're gonna destroy with. Bap Zen, Anna Zen, Brig, Moira? Anyway, maybe he's in plat, and that's like, I don't know. I don't even think in plat that's like bronze, silver, gold. Okay, me click now. Me throw ball. That's what I play. How's that? Me throw purple thing. Okay, people dead. Okay, now I do the thing with both of the things. Uh-oh, someone's coming at me. I hit shift. I move. My Moira guide for all of you guys. But yeah, oh my god, with the lawn mowing. So yeah, it's a weird thing that they do. Anyway, so those are my teams, and Krusty's fascination with Moira. So let's talk players for a little bit. We're going to talk some players we're keeping our eye on. I'm going back to the East first, and I'm not going to say what you guys are expecting me to say. Of course I'm going to watch Prophet, because Prophet's God, and all others fall before him. But I want to watch the Hangzhou Spark DPS line some more. I love the way Shy and Alpha Yi have been playing. They're phenomenal. Alpha Yi, to me, if Proper wasn't in the mix right now, sucking up all the headlines, or say Alpha Yi or the Hangzhou Spark were in the West playing where everybody on the western side of the world are watching them, we would hear a lot more discussion about Alpha Yi being the top rookie prospect. That's a lot of ifs in there, but I just like his style. I like Shy's style as well. I think they're lethal. They're destroying people, and this meta for them is fantastic. So other than those guys, I am going to look out for Vigilante. I want to see if this kid is the real deal, if he plays at all. That's the thing. I don't know if they're playing him. I haven't heard word if they're playing him or not, but I'm keeping my eye out for that. I want to see if he's playing for the Justice, and if that kind of sways anything, which will probably screw up my picks, which I don't need any help screwing them up. I mean, there are a couple of good teams playing bad teams this week. I would like to say I want to see what the Gladiators... I'm really interested in the Patapay and Ons rotation, but they're playing the Justice and the Defiant. That's like... who knows what the fuck's going to happen there. Maybe I should tune in a little bit more to those two, because you never know what's going to happen with those teams. Anyway, and one last one I'm going to throw in. Tank line for the Dragons. Kind of goes back into what I was saying, teams I want to watch. And Fate and Void have been playing okay solo. They need to up their game, and hopefully they can do that. I'm just going to keep my eye on them, seeing if they're playing anything remotely close to what their skill level is, because they've been kind of off, to say the least. And it's very integral, obviously, in 5v5 to have your tank playing well. These two guys should be playing better. I want to see if that improves a little bit this week. Okay, so those are the teams and players I'm watching. Let's talk about... We're going to dive into our 2 matches of the week. I pulled 1 match from each region, and the West really had only 1 match to talk about, really, if you wanted to dive into anything. Anyway, so East, we're going to talk about this one first. We have the Seoul Dynasty taking on the Hangzhou Spark. Let's dive into this one a little bit. Both of these teams are really hot coming in. They both played really well last week. Hangzhou has been playing decently in the regular season. They look like hot garbage in the tournament. Seoul has probably the most complete team right now in the East, and is vying 1-2, 1A, whatever you want to call it, for the whole league. They are playing at a level that they have never played at. I am loving what I'm seeing from this team. Same thing from Hangzhou. They look a little better than they did in the last tournament cycle, but it falls into the, like with San Francisco, you did this last time, you got to do something in the tournament. At least San Francisco won something in the tournament. They didn't look like hot garbage. They just looked lost a little bit. Anyway, let's talk about this match. We're going to hit the tail of the tape here and dive right in. Okay, tank line. We have Smurf. And for the Hangzhou Spark, we have Gushue and Bernard. You know, right now, I'm going to lean on Smurf in this one. I like his ability to adapt and to pick up these heroes right now. He's doing a phenomenal job of learning a bunch of heroes and playing them at Overwatch League level, playing them decently, and not missing a beat. He looked a little off when he was playing Zarya, but picked it up quick. He's played Sigma decently enough as he's gotten more time on it. So if you need him to play that, he can play that. Obviously, we know he can play Ball, Winston, and Reinhardt decently. I just think he's a little bit better than Bernard and Gushue right now. He's just proving that he is an all-time great in the league, and everything that was said about him in the past is still true. And I'm not taking anything away from Bernard or Gushue. I think Bernard's been playing phenomenally. I give a slight edge to Seoul with the tanks. DPS, this one's pretty close right now. Alpha Yi and Shy, Prophet and Fitz. I think this is, you could call this even, but Prophet's involved, so I got to give a little slight edge to the Seoul Dynasty. Prophet and Fitz are playing insane right now. As good as Alpha Yi and Shy are, I mean, I guess Fitz was playing, he still had the stupid protector on the bottom of his mouse, and oh man, I heard that somebody say something about that on something, or I read it somewhere, I don't know, it might have been on Reddit. I don't troll around on Reddit too much, but you have Prophet and Fitz, they're just playing at another level. I mean, we obviously saw what Prophet can do. He has a highlight reel every week now, and so does Fitz. I mean, he had 2 4Ks back-to-back in 2 team fights last week. What's he going to do this week? But Alpha Yi and Shy are no slouch. We've talked about them on numerous occasions. I love these 2 guys. I think they're phenomenal. And I think they can keep pace with Prophet and Fitz, but I think Prophet and Fitz are slightly better. Supports, Irony and Super Rich versus Creative and Vindime. I gotta give it to Soul as well. Across the board, I have Soul on every category. This one's a little bit the biggest gap, I think, of any of them right now. I think Creative and Vindime are playing phenomenal. I think Super Rich and Irony are playing okay. There are times when they're not, though. Like in the playoffs, I thought they were a little off. They have their moments where they're not doing the greatest job. Let's just put it that way. Vindime and Creative are a fantastic duo right now. And it's going to be super hard for the Hangzhou Spark to even compete with some of the stuff. Because you can get into all these comps. Because we saw Vindime play a little bit of Zen. And it looked pretty damn good. And no matter what they run, they can run the rush because he's in there. And because I'm assuming, obviously preseason they had Jonak in there for this type of situation. You know, you put Jonak in on maps where you're playing Zen, but they don't have that option. But Vindime's doing a fantastic job in this double flex support meta. And he also gives them the option of not telegraphing when they're going to run rush. You know, he comes into a map, you're going to go, well, they're running rush because obviously Vindime's in there. It gives them not the element of surprise. It just doesn't point out right away what they're doing. So I like that. I do think Super Rich and Irony are good. I'm making like they're terrible, but they're not. They're playing really well. I mean, this is one of the reasons why this team is playing good. They're keeping their guys up. They're doing a good job. I just think Vindime and Creative are playing fantastic this year. So what do I think is going to happen? As much as I have Soul winning out in every category, I do think this is going to be a close match. I think it's going to be 3-2. I think Prophet's going to do something in map 5. How about that? That's my answer. 3-2 Seoul Dynasty. Close match. Just a little bit too much for Hangzhou right now. Next match. This match is the only decent match on the docket we have in the West this week. The Reign and the Houston Outlaws. Now, this match, who knows what's going to happen, really? Are we going to get Houston to be not Houston? And are we going to get Atlanta to not do Atlanta things? Because they have weeks where they're just like vacated. But this is their only match of the week for both teams. So I think this is going to be a good match. Now, let's go into the tail of the tape. Tanks. We have Dante. I'm just throwing Dante in there because he plays most of the time anyway. Dante and Piggy, Gator, and Hawk. I am going to lean Gator and Hawk a little bit, slightly, not by a lot. And most of that is because I think Dante's a better Doomfist, his style at least. But I do think Hawk brings more to the table than Piggy does right now. Gator also gives you the other options if you're going to run Ball, Winston, etc. They really don't have that other than Piggy getting on one of those heroes, and it's not my cup of tea. Let's put it that way. So I like Atlanta's tank line better. Supports: OG and Ultraviolet, Lastro, and Iris. That's the first time I made that mistake. So this one's pretty close, and you know what? In this meta, I'm calling this even. I think if you run your double flex support in your Houston, you have Lastro and Iris playing on heroes that they're comfortable and good, very good on. I think OG and Ultraviolet are fantastic, and I do think they're one of the best rookie combos in the league that came in. They're playing very, very well. I like that Lastro Iris scenario. They're a little more lethal to me. But conversely, OG and Ultraviolet are a little bit all around, a little bit more well-rounded altogether, I guess is what I want to say. So I'm calling it a wash. DPS, we have Kai, Venom, and Nero versus Merit and Pelican. So this is pretty close if you get down to the heart of it. I'm kind of leaning a little bit to the it's a wash. Kind of it's even. Because Kai, as good as Kai is on Sojourn, Merit is like leading in almost every category on Sojourn stats. I know stats don't mean shit most of the time. They're just numbers. But he's pretty damn good on this hero and a fantastic overall. And I think that Pelican and Venom isn't necessarily a wash, but they both have their heroes that they're better on than each other, so it evens it out in that regard, in my opinion. So you have the extra added DPS with Nero, and you could throw Dante in there too, because if Piggy's on, he's available to play DPS. So Dante's like all over the place, so potentially Dante in there too. But I still think it's even. I like both of these DPS lines. They're very versatile, very good. You have two guys that are playing Sojourn at the top of the league going against each other, so that's going to be fantastic to watch in and of itself. But yeah, it's pretty close, pretty even overall. If you look at the tail of the tape, I mean, I have two even stats, and I have Atlanta edging out on the tank category. So where do I see this going? I think a lot of this is going to hinge upon the tank play, and for that reason alone, I'm going to pick the Atlanta Reign. 3-2, close match. I think these DPS lines are close. The supports are pretty close in skill, and there's going to be moments where both the Kai and Lastro could go off too. He's very capable of doing that on Zenyatta. Merit, I think whoever wins that duel too is going to tell a lot about this match. Whoever gets the best of the other guy, because if you have the scenarios where we've seen it with Sojourn, where guys, you're getting the first pick over and over again. Like Lastro got picked on last week by the Gladiators. I think Patapan had it in for him. Stuff like you're seeing with that kind of thing. If you're getting ahead in that game, it changes the dynamic a lot. And whichever one of these DPS guys playing Sojourn gets that advantage is also going to be very key in this match. But I like Atlanta 3-2, so those are my two key matches. Now let's do my pick'ems. Really don't want to talk about last week because I was absolutely, unequivocally hot garbage. Yeah, I got burned by Shanghai and the Fusion on the wrong end of a couple of, putting my faith in the Justice and the Mayhem Or I'm sorry, not the mayhem, the eternal. That led to my demise this week. But I went 10-6 for the week. Overall, I am 50-19. So not terrible on the year. I would like a couple of those picks back. Talking to you, Shanghai. Get it together. Anyway, let's go into the pick'ems for this week. We're going to go right down the list. We're going to start with the East, then move into the West. Here we go. Week 9 picks, starting with the East, 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Friday. Hangzhou Spark taking on the Philadelphia Fusion. I like the Spark 3-1. Next match on Friday from the East, I have the Chengdu Hunters beating the Guangzhou Charge 3-0. Saturday from the East, 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Seoul Dynasty taking on the Guangzhou Charge. I have Seoul 3-0. Next match, we have the Chengdu Hunters taking on the LA Valiant. I have the Chengdu Hunters winning that one 3-2. Last match is Saturday in the East. I have the Shanghai Dragons beating the Philadelphia Fusion 3-1. On to Sunday, 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hangzhou Spark taking on the Seoul Dynasty. We talked about this one. I like Seoul 3-2. Final match of the weekend in the East. I have Shanghai beating the LA Valiant 3-2. Okay, let's move to the West. Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. London Spitfire taking on the Paris Eternal. I like London 3-0. Next match we talked about. Atlanta Reign taking on Houston Outlaws in a close one. I like Atlanta 3-2. Next match, we have the LA Gladiators taking on the Toronto Defiant. I like the Gladiators 3-0. On to Saturday in the West, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. San Francisco Shock taking on the Vancouver Titans. I like San Francisco 3-0. Next match, Gladiators taking on the Justice. I like the Gladiators 3-0. Final match of Saturday, Toronto taking on the Paris Eternal. I like the Toronto Defiant 3-1. Sunday, final day of action for Week 9, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. London Spitfire taking on the Washington Justice. I like London 3-1. Next match, Dallas taking on the New York Excelsior. I like the Dallas Fuel 3-0. Final match of the weekend, Florida Mayhem taking on the Boston Uprising. I like Florida 3-2. Okay, there you go, guys. Pick'ems for Week 9. Hopefully I can jump back up a little bit, hit my stride, get back up into the game. I was up pretty high. I think I was in the 300s at the end of Kickoff Clash. Not bad, not great overall, but we'll see what happens. I have a couple weeks to go. I also hit all of my crystal ball picks and both champions I had too in that. That also helped me out a lot. That jumped me way up. But that's going to do it for this episode. Thanks a lot, guys, for joining me. All of your support is greatly, greatly appreciated, whether you've been here for 1 day or 5 years. Thank you very much. If you're new, you made it all the way to the end of the video. Thank you very much for sticking around, checking me out. If you could hit a like, hit a subscribe, that would be fantastic. Tell your friends, tell your family, all the people you know that are in Overwatch League, have them come on in. We talk about Overwatch League here. It's open forum. Comment down below. Start talking about some of these matches, some of these scenarios we got going on with the playoffs and whatnot and what have you. All right, guys, that's going to do it. This is Misfit. I'm out. Everybody stay safe. Have a good rest of your day, and I will talk to you on the next one.